Something extraordinary is unfolding right now. The kind of moment that doesn't arrive with noise or chaos, but with a quiet, overwhelming realization that history is being written in real time. Because this is not simply about sales. It's not just about charts. It's about a journey that has been building for years and is now impossible to ignore. This is Jyn, and this is Happy. When Jyn released his first mini-album, there was curiosity, there was excitement. But beneath all of that, there was also a question hanging in the air. What does Jyn look like when he fully steps into his own spotlight? The answer came fast. On the very first day of release, 845,690 albums were sold, in one single day. A number so large it immediately signaled that something rare was happening. Not hype, not curiosity sales, but conviction. And yet that first day explosion wasn't the climax. It was only the opening scene. As days passed, Happy didn't slow down. It didn't fade. It kept rising, quietly, steadily, until it crossed 1 million copies. Then it crossed another. And now it stands as a double million seller on both Hanteo and Circle charts, with over 3 million cumulative sales on the Circle chart. 3 million copies. That number doesn't come from chance. It comes from trust. Trust in Jyn's voice, trust in his storytelling, trust in the sincerity that has always defined him. What makes this even more emotional is where Jyn is standing right now in his career. This isn't a debut boosted by novelty. This isn't a moment carried by group momentum. This is Jyn, returning to music with clarity, knowing who he is, knowing what he wants to say, and knowing that his voice deserves to be heard. And if this feels like a continuation of something familiar, that's because Jyn has been laying this foundation for a long time. Back in 2022, the astronaut did something few expected. It surpassed 1 million copies in just over a month, becoming the fastest solo single to achieve that milestone on the Circle chart. It ranked among the year's top albums, not as a group release, but as a solo statement. At the time, it felt special. Looking back now, it feels prophetic. Because Happy didn't just repeat that success, it expanded it in every possible direction. In Japan, the response was immediate and powerful. Happy earned a platinum certification, marking Jyn's first platinum record as a solo artist. A milestone that symbolized growth, not just popularity. Within days, the album topped Oricon's weekly digital album ranking, and on release day alone, sold nearly 220,000 copies, dominating the daily charts. By the end of the year, Jyn made history once again, recording the highest album sales among K-pop solo artists on Billboard Japan's year-end chart. And beyond Japan, the story kept expanding. Happy reached #1 on iTunes' top albums in 48 countries, while Running Wild soared to the top of top songs charts in 70 regions worldwide. In Japan, it claimed the Spotify Daily Top Song chart, recording the highest daily streams of any K-pop artist, group, or solo. These achievements don't just show reach, they show resonance. Different languages, different cultures, the same emotional response. But numbers alone can never tell the whole story. Because while charts measure performance, another space measures devotion. For 94 consecutive weeks, Jyn has remained #1 on the My One Pick weekly rankings. Week after week, month after month, no breaks, no drops. 94 weeks is not a trend, it's a relationship. And that bond deepens even further in the monthly rankings, where Jyn has held the top position for 23 consecutive months, amassing tens of millions of votes each time. So powerful that the reward isn't just a title. It becomes public displays across the city, screens lighting up with his name, visible proof of collective affection. Jyn's presence also dominates themed votes, from talent and intelligence to warmth, elegance, and encouragement, each category reflecting a different facet of who he is and why people continue to choose him. And then there's his influence beyond music. As a global ambassador for Fred, Jyn doesn't simply wear jewelry, he embodies it. The elegance, the restraint, the quiet confidence. It's why the nickname Prince Fred feels less like branding and more like recognition. As the year draws to a close, there's one more moment waiting. The release of Run Seok Jin Episode Tour the Movie, a cinematic return to the nights where voices met voices, where memories were made in real time. A reminder that behind every record is a connection, shared, lived, and deeply personal. When you step back and look at everything together, the albums, the charts, the votes, the global stages, it becomes clear that Happy reaching 3 million copies is not an accident. It's the result of consistency, of patience, of sincerity. Records will eventually change, charts will refresh, new numbers will appear. But what remains? The trust, the devotion, the emotional bond, that's what truly lasts. Jin didn't just release an album. He created a moment, a chapter, a legacy that continues to grow, quietly, confidently, and beautifully. And somehow, even after all of this, it still feels like the story is just beginning.